lips.
"Cousin Johnny's been posted to somewhere called Pindy," Sophie called out to her aunt. "Have you heard of it?" "Rawalpindi," Amy answered, appearing in the doorway. "It's an army station in the North Punjab. Your parents married and honeymooned near there in a hill station called Muri." "Did they?" Sophie glanced at the silver-framed photograph on the mantelpiece of a handsome couple in elaborate wedding clothes. It always struck her how sombre they looked, but Amy had assured her that her parents were merely keeping still for the camera. "Jessie loved it there," Amy smiled. "Didn't mind that it was winter and snowing. It had a healthy Scottish bluster." "Wasn't that a long way from Assam?" Amy shrugged. "Aye, but we had a church connection there, a mission with a boarding house. I suppose they got a good rate at that time of year. And your mother always loved the hills." Sophie waited for more. Her aunt rarely talked about her mother in case it upset her, but Sophie craved these nuggets of information. Amy nodded towards the kitchen. "Don't boil that kettle dry." Later, with cups of tea poured and shortbread eaten, Sophie read out the long letter. There was talk of Tilly's mother going to stay with her eldest married daughter in Dunbar for the summer, where the sea air would do her chest good. "I'll probably have to go with her," Sophie read aloud, "unless you can think up an excuse for me. What are the chances of Auntie Amy taking us to Switzerland on the train again? It was the best holiday I've ever had in my life. Beg her for me, will you?" Amy Anderson laughed. "Tilly spent the whole time complaining about walking up mountains, but it was a grand trip, wasn't it? It was thanks to the bequest from the Oxford Tea Company that we could afford to go." "Yes, the company have been good to me, haven't they?" "Well, your father was a respected employee. The company was only doing what was right by putting a bit in trust for you, seeing you through your education. And from what I hear, they made huge profits during the war." "Still, it was kind of them," said Sophie, returning to the letter. "Johnny's dear friend Clary Robson is back on leave from Assam with her small daughter Adela. She's just as much fun as ever, and the girl is a pretty dark-eyed thing, already talking 10 to the dozen. Clary's handsome husband isn't with her, more's the pity, but Wesley will be here in the autumn to take them back, when things aren't so hectic in the tea gardens." "Is that the woman who ran the tea room in West Newcastle?" Amy interrupted. "What was it called?" "Herbert's," Sophie nodded. "Named after her first husband. Her stepson Will was a good friend of Johnny's, remember? Me and Tilly had such a massive crush on Will. I think it was the floppy hair, and he was always teasing us younger girls, but in a nice way." "Oh, aye, the poor laddie who died after the war ended." "Yes," Sophie sighed. "Tilly said Clary was heartbroken, and Johnny too." "Well, it's grand that she found happiness again with one of the Robsons," said Amy. "Listen to this," Sophie read on. "Wesley's cousin James Robson is also on leave in Newcastle, though he and Clary don't really get on. It's the first time he's been back to England since before the Kaiser's War." "James Robson?" Amy gasped. Sophie looked up quickly. "Is he the Robson who worked with my father in Assam?" "Aye, he is." Her aunt was giving her an odd look. "And—" Amy hesitated. "He was the man who brought you back after your parents." Her voice softened. "Don't you remember him?" Sophie shrugged. "No, not really. I remember the big ship and feeling seasick, but that's all. Tell me about him." But Amy said,